This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. It's straight to the point to respect people's time, and because we know knowledge and wisdom turn to business possibility, and possibility mixed with support and action become reality. In this podcast, we discuss leadership, sales, marketing, operations, team development, quality, and finance to drive sustainable results and everlasting impact to make the world a better place. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Thanks, Brad. Happy to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. So you all didn't get the privilege of having the conversation that we just had prior to the podcast, which was already on fire. So Jeff is on fire already, delivering value. He was serving me in the space, and it's great. So Jeff, I'm glad to have you here. It's a privilege to have you.
Well, it's my favorite thing to do is talk to other leadership geeks about cutting edge leadership. I mean, it's my thing. I love it. So I've enjoyed the conversation so far and looking forward to what else we uncover.
Invigorating, empowering. Right. So it's great. Jeff, if you would be willing to share with the people watching and listening a little bit about who you are and what you do. I know that's a vast thing, but who are you now and what do you do?
Yeah, well, I am currently, for the last 15 years, I have been a leadership and organizational development consultant. And I focus on helping small to medium-sized business people. I've worked with, startups and all the way up to $150 million. But my sweet spot's a bit smaller in that, around the $15 million range and below. And what I do is I help them to learn the new leadership mindsets, models, and methods that they need to be able to lead in the modern world, in the modern environment. And I don't just teach leadership, I teach leadership plus organizational development, because those are two legs that you need to move, well, not simultaneously, but together. If you just do leadership and don't move your organization forward in its design, you're going to stall. So I help companies understand what those new methods are, and then I teach them on how to use it in ways that they can learn it today and leverage it tomorrow. None of the stuff is platitudes. Nobody has time to mess around and wait for 6 months for results. So all my stuff is, I'm an operations guy. I'm kind of a hybrid. I can go out into the cloud and into the future and see what's coming, and I develop systems. But I cut my teeth being on the front end of building small businesses. So that's what I look to do: serve those people and deliver a product and trainings that they can use, that they can, like I said, learn today and literally leverage tomorrow.
Fantastic. Well said. Very eloquently put. And you already got, like, my hairs are just all standing up because we resonate in this space together, right? Operational, but I love your model. So mindset, models, and methods. That's what you said, correct? Right. Mindset, models, and methods. I love that.
There's what we're talking about. It's not enough just to change your organization or your leadership style anymore, because the old way is so far out of date that changing is working around an original model. We have to transform. And I've studied transformations, and I've gone through several in my life, personal and professional. And I realized that there's 3 components to being successfully transforming. And that's to go from one way of being to another. And the first is you need a new mindset, a new way of thinking about yourself and the world and what you want to do. The next is you need a new model, which is how you view the world. And then you need specific methods that you can use day to day that fit within the model and manifest the mindset. And if you get those 3 and you get clear on them and you get trained in them, transformation will happen. So that's why I focus. And my training, I do a blend of all 3 of those almost simultaneously, because that's how you move. It's transformation isn't binary. It's not step. It's an evolution. So
absolutely.
All of my stuff pays attention to that and follows that model.
I love that for so many reasons. We'll dive in here a little bit more. There are so many reasons why I love that though. They're like the legs. It's like that Trinity, right? You need all three. If one's
Right.
missing, then the system is kind of broken. So I love it. I
Yeah,
absolutely
it's
love
a
it.
three-legged stool. It won't stand. You
That's
need the
great.
three legs. Yeah.
When I first started studying mindset, I was fascinated by mindset, and I see a lot of people on the internet today, various stages of their growth, right? And they say like everything is mindset, and it's all about mindset, and that usually strikes me because I did think that at one point, but then I realized it's not really all about mindset. You got
No.
mindset, and as I began to study mindset, you've got mind models, right? Two different things. So if you have a whole bunch of mindsets, that creates a mind model. Like if you have a bunch of beliefs, then you have a belief system. And so there's always something more. So nothing is everything. And that's what I've learned.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of the trainings that I took when I was going through my entrepreneurial journey of building my companies, which I built two from scratch, you know, started with nothing, built them both to, you know, about $5-6 million companies. I would take trainings and they would tell me what I had to do and maybe a little bit of how to do it, but not enough to make the rubber meet the road.
Mm.
And I would get so frustrated with that. And it's like, look, okay, so I get why I need to change. I get what you're telling me I have to do, but you're not telling me how to do it.
Mm.
And I need that piece. I'm an applied learner. You know, throughout my career, I started in cable television industry. I was a lineman, a tower worker. I became a field engineer. I started my own business, and you know, I've been a member of a think tank and all that type of stuff. So I've done some pretty heavy stuff. But I'm a high school graduate, and everything that I learned was applied learning. And what that taught me was, at some point, you have to go from that theory and the academic stuff, which is the mindset, which is absolutely essential. But you know, when you're hanging off of a telephone pole or a 350-foot tower on a mountain, you need to know what you're doing, like with your fingers and with your tools to be able to get it done. So all of my stuff is just focused on, you know, mindset, but we got to get right to those methods, because without that, I haven't helped you.
Love it.
I haven't.
Absolutely love it. I've learned this, what you're sharing. I've learned this throughout my career. I experienced exactly what you just described, and the mindset's good and the theory is good and the information is good, but there's this experiential learning, right? And so a coach or consultant or group or community can take you so far, and that is helpful, and it will speed. I mean, it will definitely move the needle for you to a certain extent. They can give you frameworks and different things that you might not be aware of, right? So in your model, it would be the models and the methods, right? But
Yep.
there's a thing where you got to get in there and do it too. You got to have the fingertips, like you said, right? I literally have, when I built stadiums, was hanging, 60, 80, 100 feet in the air and by my fingertips. So I get it. You have to learn that. Nobody can tell you how to do it. That's great stuff.
And you know, and when you were trained, you had someone next to you who had to back up and let you do it and let you make your mistakes. So all of my training has a component of go out and do and stumble and whatever, then come back and we'll refine. And that's so important, to be able to get that learning to go from the mind to the fingers so that you can actually manifest it. And
actually,
you know, a lot of trainers, a lot of training programs don't have either the patience or the ability to do that. But I think that's really, I know without that piece, I never would have done nearly the amount of things that I've been able to do.
Glad you said that, because I actually didn't have someone train me. I had to learn it the hard way. My trainer was non-existent, not present. So.
Well, you know, then you learned well.
Well, this is the reality of where we are with many businesses today. So it's a fascinating conversation, and it's exactly the way businesses, as you know, the way businesses move faster is exactly how you described. And unfortunately, there's some organizations that don't have that kind of training.
Yeah. And you know, as an entrepreneur, which most of your listeners are, we don't have someone sitting there teaching us and holding our hand, et cetera. We have to be out there on the front lines, you know, figuring it out and jumping off the cliff and building your wings on the way down. And, you learn quick, you learn well, and you really learn to trust yourself. Entrepreneurialism is one of the most powerful spiritual journeys you're ever going to take, because it's going to challenge yourself. It's going to teach you about yourself. And you either learn to love and respect yourself, or you go out of business.
Isn't that the truth? Point blank. Great truth. Thank you, Jeff.
It is not for sissies. Not for sissies.
It is not. It is not. That is a true statement. I love it. This is great. Jeff, what's the best thing for you about being in business?
I started my first business when I was 26, and I'll be 66 in another month or two. And the thing that I valued the most, and the thing that kept me in it through some really hard times, I had a business that crashed many years ago, but I stayed in business on the other side of it. Self-determination. I wanted to be able to determine how I spent my time. I wanted to go and learn the things and experiment the things that I wanted to learn in. And, did I take more beatings and make less money many times than what I could have if I'd been in the comfort of a career that was on a different path? Probably. But, my dad told me when I first started my business, he says, well, Jeff, if you're going to work for a jerk, it may as well be yourself. Right. So I said, thanks, Dad. I think, he's my mentor. But I look back over my career, and I really value the fact that I've been able to determine how I spend my time. And it's been in pursuit of a dream for me that would help me and my family. And that's the most important thing. I've had a lot of friends who made a lot of money and couldn't wait to retire. And I just said, I'm living my dream now. I mean, they were in their 40s and 50s and going, oh, I can't wait to get out of this, or I got to get out of this corporate grind. And that's never been my experience. So that being able to determine what I did with my time and make my own decisions, my own mistakes.
Absolutely love that answer. In all the podcasts I've done, that's the first person that's used those words, self-determination. There's a lot of freedom, control, set my own way, but self-determination. I celebrate your answer. I love that answer. It's fantastic. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Well, I can be a real bonehead. So that's probably another thing,
That's
I am unhireable.
That's also a part of entrepreneurship, right? Being a bonehead. It's true. You're listening, you're watching, you're going, yeah, that's me. That's it.
Yeah.
It's me. We share that. Jeff, this is one of my favorite questions. I know you're going to love it too. So it's designed for the systems piece, right? So we hear from a lot of business owners, they're getting so much business that sometimes the chaos causes some feelings of overwhelm and whatnot. Would you be willing to share your thoughts on that subject?
That is the whipsaw of entrepreneurialism. Too little work, go out, dig, hunt, dig, scramble. Then it comes in and too much work. And it's, and that will, like anything else, back and forth long enough, you're going to break an axle. And, steady as it goes is kind of my mantra. And, I think it's really important that you always maintain a level of awareness, realistic awareness of what your current capacity and bandwidth is. As entrepreneurs, I'm probably like everybody else. I look at everything and I go, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. So I have shiny object syndrome a little bit. Plus, scarcity kicks in, and it's, I better do that because I don't know when the next opportunity is going to come, and you can choke yourself out. So the main thing is just really be realistic for what capacity you have and what bandwidth you have to handle another project, and to offset that. And that's really, really tricky. But the other thing that can be really tricky is being courageous enough to price enough, to price high enough, to charge enough. And I'll tell you, I was in a place of scarcity for years. When I started my consulting business 17 years ago, I never sold thinking. I didn't know how to do that. So, I was billing myself out for $50 an hour. I mean, just anybody that would hire me, right? So I had that scarcity thing. And then everything that I did was based upon whether it was how much more of $50 an hour. And it was just really, I was choking myself out. And I had to shift my mindset over to one of value, not time, not hourly, but what is the value I'm delivering them? And then what value can I get back? And my wife is really brilliant. Poor choice in men, but really brilliant. She told me one time, she said, think of money as energy. And you go into companies and you free them up with energy because you get their people to work with them better. They have less stress. They have more participation. And what they do is they give you energy back in the form of money. So if you're giving them terrific value, that's giving them energy. And money, don't think of it as dollars and cents as much as it's a repayment of energy. Because with that energy, you get to have less stress, et cetera. It changed everything. And, I charge much more for things that I would have done before, but the value, just because I'm charging more doesn't mean that I'm overcharging. The value that my clients get long-term, this stuff, when you go through transformation, you learn things that you don't forget, and you do things differently, and then you don't need me nearly as much on the other side. And that's my commitment. My commitment is to work with people to help them be less vulnerable and better able to keep their dream going and take care of their families with or without me. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not working for you. I'm working for me. And if you're paying me, I need to be working for you.
Nice. Good stuff. You dropped so much, all pun intended. You dropped so much value there. You really did. In so many ways. I mean, you started with the whipsaw, and every entrepreneur knows about the whipsaw, right? You got spikes in business, and then you don't have any, and then you have some more, and then you go, man, it's like we all go through that until we start to go, and level out. But I love how you said steady as it goes, and it's all about capacity, because I totally resonate with that, right? It's like stair steps. I think for me in my head, that's what I was capturing when you were speaking. It's like take a step and then steady yourself, and then take a step and steady yourself, and make sure you understand your capacity. But then you went into the means of exchange and the value, and that's so huge for so many entrepreneurs, Jeff, as you know. They just underprice themselves, and they just want to deliver, and they've got heart centered, and especially nowadays, and they choke themselves out, just like you said. So there's a lot of stuff that you shared there, and I want to encourage anybody listening and watching, if you didn't capture all that, literally just scroll back and listen to it again, because you dropped a lot of wisdom there, and we haven't even gotten to question 5 yet. That's great, Jeff. Thank you. So shifting gears a little bit, who else successful like yourself, of course, ought to be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
There is a guy, he'll kill me for saying this, and I'll get out ahead of you.
I hope he won't kill you.
No, he'll squirm a bit. He's a guy, his name is Joe Tusch, Tusch. And I coached him. He's in his 40s, super, super smart, CEO of a company that was in construction and recycling business at a really high level in Massachusetts. And he came in and took over pretty much the operations as CEO of this company that his father-in-law built from like a dump truck to a $300 million conglomerate. Wow. Did magnificent stuff. Really centered, not a corporate guy, homegrown, but super, super smart. Just sold it for, I don't know, 100 million, something like that. And now he's out there doing more entrepreneurial stuff, because he said, I'm in my 40s. And he said, if I don't keep busy, I'm just going to become an alcoholic, and I can't do that, which is what happens. We're such high drivers that we have to have the next thing. And there's so much about his wisdom. There's so much about the way he treats his people. And he literally built a company there that people were there for 20 years. And it was very much a family environment, but it had the discipline of a well-run organization. And I just think that he would be a terrific person to hear from. He's not a consultant. He's in the trenches building, and he's a tribe member of the people that are listening to this podcast.
Love that.
Yeah. He's super sharp.
Love that. And I love the way you described that too. I can tell you have a deep affinity for him, and I'm sure he's come a long way. He's working with you as well.
Yeah,
As,
well,
his own experience.
within a short period of time, we got into the place of what I call a hey man conversation, because I'm a consultant, he's a client, you have a certain level of professionalism.
Sure.
But the quicker you can get to that, hey, we're a couple people here looking to build this business, and get past a lot of the unofficial, professional, whatever, the more ground you can cover quicker. So he's one of those guys.
I'm glad you said that. That's, that helps illustrate. And so for the people listening and watching, like that's a great illustration of what happens inside of that client partnership, right? So the faster, what you said, Jeff, the faster you get there, the faster you can begin to talk about what's really going on in your business. Because let's face it, people are a little bit leery to say, okay, hey, let me open up my books because I'm kind of dying here. That doesn't usually happen in a first time conversation. It takes some trust, right? And so these little things start to seep out, and then eventually you create this relationship and you say, okay, here's the real deal, here's where I am. And so I'm glad you highlighted that. The faster you can let that ego go and you can begin to speak into those things, the faster consultants can help you fix what's really truly wrong. So.
Yeah, because if they're a good consultant, they've had their ups, their downs, and they know how to fix them, which is why they're in the business that they are. They know what it feels like to feel that stress and that anxiety. And, I had a business that crashed, so I know what that is. And I tell people, look, this is where I failed. This is where I've succeeded. And, let me help you get to where you want to go. And we partner up. We partner up. And you take your thinking, I take my thinking. I call it the bigger no. And the bigger no is I know what I know, you know what you know, and together we have a bigger no. Let's activate that. And, let's drop the formalities and let's go in and get to work and build this thing.
Let's do it. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, Jeff, it's fun. It's fun.
This is great. I love this conversation. This is wonderful. All right. So we've already dropped tons of value. Let's get to the crux of this. What piece of wisdom in your vast knowledge and wisdom and experience? And I do have to celebrate you for saying, just vulnerably saying, hey, I struggled in business because I know, and that's what makes the best consultants. It's somebody that's been through all that, not somebody that's had all the wins. And, people think it's like, oh, this person's so successful. But the question I would ask is, have you failed at all? I want to know how you failed, because if you haven't failed, you're not going to be able to help me. So I just want to just pause for a second and just thank you before we get into the wisdom, just for sharing that openly and vulnerably. So thank you. Did you want to respond to that?
Yeah. Well, I see some consultants that come out of, whatever, you name the Ivy League school with an MBA, and they drop into McKinsey and they're charging a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, you were born on third base and thought you hit a triple. I mean, come on, you haven't been in the trenches. You haven't been beaten and tried to work your way through. So how much can you offer? You're really smart with a lot of processes, but not a lot to offer for those people that are in the trenches.
It's true. It's true. And that, I don't like to be too cold on these things or too abrupt, but it's true. If you got me with someone like that, and you're going to have very little to offer me. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are in the same boat. So it's real. Let's be real. Let's not tiptoe around that subject. So thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Yep. What piece of wisdom would you share with other business owners, other entrepreneurs out there?
I have a process that I've been trying. It's a little bit of a system. I like systems like you, and I like acronyms, and I like the power of three. And I came up with one, and I've been working to try to disprove this for a while, see if it has a weak spot. I can't find it. And what I say is I live and lead with AIR. And AIR is an acronym for authenticity, integrity, and respect. So to break that down a little bit, authenticity is me doing the work on me to understand who I am, what I am, strengths, weaknesses, vulnerabilities, etc. All the magical stuff and all the parts of me that the dented can, right? And I accept that. And then integrity is me being in good character and representing who I am out in the world so you can see that. Nice. And then respect, there's three parts of that. One is respect myself, my boundaries, respect you, your boundaries, and respect whomever's paying us. And if I can stay within that, if I can be authentic, if I can stay in integrity, and I can engage with respect in those three areas, I'm not going to make a very big mistake. And if I do, I just get back in integrity, I own it, and we move forward.
Nice.
And, I'll get in situations, we all get in them, what's the ethical thing to do? What's the right thing to do? We have a lot of temptations that can, this would be easier, or this would be more profitable, or, whatever. And I just run it through that filter. Am I being authentic? Am I in integrity? That's the big one, and the respect thing. And that helps keep me, they're like the bumper pads that you put in bowling alleys when little kids are bowling. That keeps me straight. Authenticity, integrity, and respect. And
I love that.
Then, yeah,
that trinity, that unity of those three things. I have this concentric circle thing in my mind right now with those three. That's great. Authenticity, I think, is spoken about more nowadays than probably ever before. At least it seems that way. Do you get that? Did you get that also?
Yeah, and some people misread that. I have an older brother who basically, his authenticity is, look, I'm a jerk. You just need to deal with it. And that's how I roll. I mean, I love him. He's just got really rough edges. He's got a huge heart, but so authenticity isn't that, hey, if you don't get to be a jerk all the time, right? I mean, we have to civilize that a little bit, but yeah, I think a lot of people are doing a lot of spiritual work, a lot of self-awareness work, a lot of mindfulness work, which is really essential, in my opinion, to be a leader. If you can't lead and manage yourself, and if you don't have a level of consciousness that doesn't get sucked into ego, I think to be a good leader, you have to have an elder consciousness, not an ego. And, that authenticity, going in and really figuring out what that is, where you're strong, where you're weak, is essential. And then you get to accept yourself. And when you accept yourself, man, you're standing on firm ground. Because I can say, look, I'm a knucklehead here. And I can also say, I'm really strong here. And I'm okay with both. It is what it is. I don't have to put an opinion on every aspect of me. It just is what it is, and I do the best I can. I love. There's a great. I think it was from Rumi. It says, "I am what I am, because this one is like that, and I will be that with as much grace as I can muster."
Love it.
So
Rumi was a smart individual.
Yep, he was.
That's some powerful stuff. Indeed. I love it. Thanks for diving into the authenticity a little bit, because it's kind of a buzzword, and I do think people misunderstand a little bit. And I love how you have the respect piece as well, because look, you can be authentic, but you can't be an authentic jerk. So you're not going to be an authentic jerk if you're following the respect piece as well. There's one more area, though, that middle area I'd like to dive into a little bit, because I think it's also misunderstood. And I'd love to, this is not scripted. I'd love to really get your take on this. I think you'd have a powerful view here. I find integrity to be very misunderstood. A lot of people talk about, truthfulness, and in most cases, they're like, you got to be truthful, and you got to do and say what you say you're going to do, which is good. Those are good pieces. There's no doubt about it. But for me, integrity is something a little bit different. I look at it from the engineering side. It's like when all the pieces and parts fit in a gear, like a bunch of gears, and they like a watch, like a Swiss watch, right? When they all move, so your beliefs and your purposes and your values and all of that stuff, when it's all aligned with what you said, when it went to authenticity, then you begin to accept yourself and learn. So have you experienced that too? Do you ever speak into that with your clients and that kind of thing? Like, integrity is very misunderstood. I love the definition that or the explanation you had. So I'll pause and turn to you, my friend.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point that I knew, but I didn't realize, that whole system part where you have to, integrity requires, it's like all this stuff. It's a double-edged, or it's a two-sided coin. Integrity is me being who I am out in the world, but it also is being in alignment energetically being in alignment with who it is that I am, and proper behavior. Like what is proper behavior? What is honesty? What's a white lie? Is a white lie okay? Well, no, it's not. And to what degree? And integrity is, there's varying degrees. I don't think that's, I mean, you're either in integrity or out of integrity, but you can be slightly out of integrity and not do a lot of damage, or vice versa. But I've had, like I'm sure everybody else, I've had some real challenges with integrity in certain aspects of my life. And thankfully, the last couple of years, I had stage 4 cancer in 2016. And what a phenomenal experience that was. It was
You're a
beautiful
thriver.
experience. I am a thriver.
You're a
Yeah, I'm not a
thriver, right? I read that. I love that.
Yeah. And I'm not in remission either. It's gone and it's not coming back. We did our deal. It taught me its lessons. I've learned them. It's gone.
Congratulations. I love hearing that.
Thanks. That really taught me a lot about, I have a runway here, and I'm going to leave a legacy, and what type of person do I want to be? And I really started looking at that area that when I was anytime I'm out of integrity, I hurt myself. That's a boomerang that I throw and comes back and clips me. And it made me think less of myself, and it made me doubt myself, and it made me not like myself. And, when I was going through my cancer thing, I thought, I'm going to get myself in a place where I respect myself, because when my last moments here, I'm not going to look back and realize I didn't like or respect myself to the degree that I did, because I didn't behave the way that was in alignment or in integrity with how I really wanted to be in my heart. And so being in alignment with that, and what I might consider integrity, you may think doesn't fit, but if it fits for me, we can agree to disagree. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky. But again, if you're being authentic with yourself, you can say, this is what is true for me, and I'm being in integrity with me. And you can say, well, I don't think that's integrity. And I say, okay, you get to have your opinion. I get to have mine. Yours matters more with you, and mine matters more with me. And that's how it works. And we agree on that, and we'll just be different. Who cares? Where do we align?
Right on.
Differences are important to understand so you don't bump into them. But, where do we align? Because where we align is where we can work together. And that's where we can do the most benefit, is where we can align.
Right on. This is the conversation we need to have with more entrepreneurs, more business owners, more teams, more. I love it. This is the exact conversation that needs to happen more often inside the workplace. The values,
and if there is
where do we align? Alignment is so much greater than assignment. And so, Jeff, I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah. And it's the secret to making things work well. Organizations aren't departments, they're tribes. They're a tribe of tribes, and people want to be in a healthy tribe where they can trust one another, et cetera. And you go in and you see the human in the human, and you deal with them as humans, and you're authentic and you expect the same out of them. You start building a culture that is authentic, has integrity, and respects. You get the human capital side right, as long as you know what you're doing in a business. The financial capital is just going to show up. The financial capital is a lagging indicator of getting the human capital side right.
Say it again. Say it again, please.
Yeah, the financial capital is a lagging capital of getting the human capital side right. Yeah, and right I have proven it time and time and again. It's physics. It's financial physics. It's beautiful. But the human capital is harder to get. Financial capital, you can study it. You got formulas, you got spreadsheets. Human capital, messy. You have to have emotional intelligence. You have to love. If you don't love people, don't lead them, because it takes a lot of patience to help them. You need to coach them and help develop them, and et cetera. And you get that. That's why the whole leadership model has changed. Command and control, top down. That's so far out of date. It's a liability. The new leaders are collaborators, communicators, and facilitators. They lead from within. And my job as a leader is to make you better, you better, you better, and you better.
Right on.
And
I love this conversation. It's like literally, I want to jump out of my chair. This is powerful. This is powerful stuff. This is the stuff that people need to hear more, be exposed to more, have more conversations in, be a part of, collaborate more, be deeper communities, deeper cultures. So I love it, Jeff. Thank you for what you brought. And we talked around we didn't directly talk much about conscious leadership, but we talked about it the whole time. The whole podcast. There's a clear line running through. There's a clear pattern running through these conversations, and so I appreciate that. And there's a lot of information on your website about that. So we'll get to that in just 1 minute, and some of the things some of the initiatives that you're running right now. But first, before we do that, I ask every guest, because look, you see how deep that we go, and like if you're watching and you're listening, you're like, oh, these guys are like, yeah, they're on a roll, right? And so you love conversations like this. We talk business all the time, and we love it, and we love what we do. It's clear. There's clear intent here. But there's this, some people like we forget sometimes. We get head down, and so I believe, and I know you do too, that we work to live and not live to work. So Jeff, can you share with me one of the most fun vacations you've ever had?
I will admit to being just a grinded out guy, the type where, when I was in my first marriage, my wife and my kids would go on the vacation, and I would, but I recently got married after being divorced for, probably 25 years. I married this wonderful woman just this past February. I'm 66. I met the woman of my dreams when I was 62, and our honeymoon was the best. We went, we were overlooking, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. We went to this place right outside of Chattanooga. Chattanooga's a pretty cool place. And we got this, it was this one room, it was a circular hut on stilts. It was on the rock ledge. And you just look out, and all you see is the Tennessee Valley all out in front of you. And it was beautiful. And it was like gray motif. It was just really, really elegantly done. And, really nobody around us. And we wake up the next morning, and we're completely in a fog bank. So we have these great windows, and all of a sudden we could only see like 10 feet in front of us all day long. And we had the best conversations. We had the most amount of fun we had. And it was just, she's a consultant, I'm a consultant. We live in our heads, and we both work from home. So, it's a 24-hour work, but we had 3 days of none of that. Nice. And it was, I was like, okay. I know I have to go back. It took me about 3 days to get back, jump on the Acela train that's blowing by me that I call my life. But yeah, that was it. Couldn't have been simpler. One person and fogged in. It was great.
I love hearing that. And then the fog cleared.
And then the fog cleared. Yep. It did.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jeff. It's a great story. So, two things as we move to wrap up here. What kind of initiatives are you working on? Is it on the individual level? Is it the corporate level? Like, can you speak into what kind of initiatives you got going on right now? And then when also on the tail end of that, when people listen to this and hear us and they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So I don't do corporate. And the reason I don't do corporate is because that's not my tribe. And I can't have enough impact on people personally and professionally in corporate. It's like trying to turn an ocean liner. Nothing wrong with corporate. It's just not where I'm a roll up the sleeves, let's get in, let's do this thing together type of person. And I like dealing with people who can make decisions. So that's the first thing. And I'm a teacher at heart. I want to teach what I've learned the hard way to you so that you can shorten your learning curve literally by years with this stuff. And so along those lines, the consulting that I do is around, I'll go in, I'll work with the leadership team. And as I'm starting to work with that, we'll look at their organization to see where the organization might be holding their people back. So I work on that type of consultant where I'm, like I said, sleeves rolled up. We're talking several times a week. I also have 2 training classes. I wrote a book that is a combination workbook, and it's a book on leadership. I'll show it right here. Well, it's in the back there. And what I'm really primarily focused on, I have an online training class that's close to the book. And I've just decided to do a certification program, what I call the M3 certification, to teach people. It's a 90-day course, once a week, teaching the new mindsets, the new models, and the new methods they need to be able to transform to being a 21st century leader with the modern worker and the modern workplace. Because everything has changed since the pandemic. It was moving along. I mean, we already had most independent workforce in the history of humanity working, and they don't want to be told what to do. So I had developed some systems over 10 years on how to deal with that. But the pandemic changed everything. So everybody has to go from that old model that we've been taught for 100 years to this new model. And I help people get through that. And as they have to redesign the plane while it's still flying. So it's all designed to help them do that without making them stop their organization. So that's what it is. I just want to teach and coach and help.
Love it. I love it. Very clear. And
the way they can get in touch. Yeah, and the way they can get in touch with me is, my website is jeffreydeckman.com. My email is jeffrey@jeffreydeckman.com. Reach out. I'm in LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel. You can go in to YouTube and search Jeffrey Deckman. There's a lot of snippets in there. There's a lot of really powerful conscious leadership type stuff in there that everybody can relate to. 5-minute videos, 7-minute videos, a couple of longer ones, but I keep it short. But just really powerful stuff. If you want to know about this stuff, just go in, wander through my website. I have a lot of content, and the stuff that I teach is already intuitive to people. It hasn't clicked. So none of this is rocket science. You don't need to learn a new language, but I just make some points that you can go into that, and you can self-study quite a bit without paying me a dime.
I love it. Well, I want to encourage something different. So first of all, I want to highlight, and I want to thank you. I know you took a chunk out of your day, so this is taken away from that. It's an opportunity cost, right? But you chose to be here to serve and help. And I mean, you could be out selling right now and doing contracts and whatnot, but you're right here with us, serving and delivering. So I want to celebrate you, and I want to honor you for that. So this has been a great conversation, Jeff. Appreciate what you brought to the table. It's been a great podcast. So I celebrate you, and I want to encourage people to do something different. So look, you can get on there and watch those 30-second snippets in the 5-minute videos or whatever, or you can just reach out and have a conversation with someone that would be willing to have a conversation with you. So yeah, maybe go to the website, check it out, do your due diligence, but then do something different. Reach out and have a conversation with someone. Don't be one of those fence sitters. Get out there and just take some action and just see where the conversation leads. That's where the power is. That's what I want to encourage you. If you're listening and you're watching, reach out to Jeff, have a conversation, see if you can get him on the line, be persistent.
And if you like my style, I mean, I don't rub everybody the same way, but I'm a hey man kind of guy. What kind of stuff do you have? You can't make any mistake any bigger than I did. And, I admire and respect every entrepreneur out there, every woman and man who puts the skin on the game and are willing to go out there without a net and do it. And we are the heart and soul of the economy and of the country because we are courageous. We are building companies that employ people and provide stability to local economies. We're it. And I want to do everything I can to honor them and to support them, because without them, a lot doesn't happen. They are the heroes. They are the first responders in my mind. So I'm completely devoted to that community, and I'm proud to call myself a member of it. And I love the work that you're doing to support it as well, because nobody helps them. Not big government programs are helping them. So we need to help one another. And that's what I'm here to do. And I love doing it. So if you're thinking about reaching out, give me a buzz. Don't worry about it. I'm not scary. I'm not scary.
This has been great. Thank you so much. And you heard it right here. It's all about you. Entrepreneurs, business owners, it's all about you. So Jeff, and it's all about you today. So thank you very much for being on the show. I appreciate you.
Well, thanks. I had an absolute blast, and you're a great interviewer. Thanks. Thanks.
This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. If you're looking for more on leadership, sales, marketing, or operations to drive team development, higher quality, and high-level sustainable profits, we encourage you to join the Built for Brilliance community on Facebook or reach out to us about one of our mastermind groups, coaching or consulting, or even fractional COO services. You can reach us at buildbrilliance.net/contact. We thank you for listening, for sharing the show, and appreciate your rating and reviews, as this makes more shows possible. Thanks for joining us.